Wrath of the Lich King Phase 1 is going to present once in a lifetime opportunities for making gold. I'm going to show you exactly what you need to do. Now, if you remember back to TBC, there were certain phases where there was an item that was best in slot, usually an epic, and the only way to get it was from raiding, and a BOP recipe drop is how you would learn how to craft it, and then it would be like a BOE item, and that would sell for like tens of thousands of gold. We're going to have a very similar situation in Wrath of the Lich King with some BOE items that are craftable, but the recipe isn't super easy to get, making them valuable. Now let's jump over and look at some of these items. Now, the professions that can capitalize on this are jewelcrafting, blacksmithing, tailoring, inscription, leatherworking, and engineering. We're going to start with blacksmithing and we'll move down from there. Now, first up is Vengeance Bindings. This is a BOE blue. This drops actually from the trainer, so it's super easy to get this recipe. Maybe it won't be super valuable, but it's best in slot, #1 choice, and it's also not too hard to create. Just a Eternal Fire and 12 Saronite bars. So this one, probably a couple hundred gold I could see this going for, so if you're a blacksmith, capitalize on this one. Next up, Tempered Titan Steel Helm. This is best in slot for plate tanks, whether that's a Death Knight, a Paladin, or a Warrior. This is going to be a little more costly because of the Frozen Orb. This is the equivalent of a Primal Nether, dropping off of the last boss of a heroic dungeon in Wrath of the Lich King. So Frozen Orb's definitely going to amp up the value on these things. The Titan Steel bar is also going to be worth somewhat a good amount. These are a little harder to create. They used to be on a cooldown. You can only create a Titan Steel bar, smelt one every like 3 days. So that cooldown's gone though if we get patch 335. So they'll still be somewhat valuable and somewhat difficult to get. So I can guarantee you Tempered Titan Steel Helm gonna be pretty good. Maybe you could even get 1,000+ gold off of making these, especially since it's the best in slot tank helmet for phase 1. All right, moving on to the Titan Steel Destroyer. Very similar to the Tempered Titan Steel Helm we just looked at. It's going to take 8 Titan Steel bars and 2 Frozen Orbs. You can bet that this one is going to get you some good gold. This is mainly for like Death Knight blood tanks are going to want this, right? This is their best in slot 2-hander. Definitely going to be valuable because of the 2 Frozen Orbs. All right, another really good item is the Spiked Titan Steel Helm. Now this is a little bit similar to the Tempered Titan Steel Helm, right? The only difference is spiked versus tempered. This is for DPS plate. So whether you're like a Death Knight DPS, Warrior, plate wearer, Ret Paladin, very similar again, Titan Steel bars, Frozen Orb. This is gonna go for some good money. Once again, every item we're going through in this list is the #1 best in slot item. So you guarantee people are gonna want to get this item. All right, moving on, we have the Titan Steel Bone Crusher. Same setup, Titan Steel bars, Frozen Orbs. This is best in slot for a bunch of different classes like Frost Death Knight, Unholy Death Knight. They're going to be dual wielding. This is the best in slot item. I think Rogues probably also are going to want this. Very, very good weapon, best in slot weapon. Also, Titan Steel Guardian, this one actually has spell power on it. You can bet that a lot of different spellcasters are going to want this. 2 Frozen Orbs and 6 Titan Steel bars. Blacksmithing is a money maker in Wrath of the Lich King Phase 1. All right, we're moving on to the next profession, leaving behind blacksmithing. This is actually engineering, and this is actually the only engineering item. This is the Armor Plated Combat Shotgun. This has defense rating, hit rating. It's best in slot for protection warriors only because like Death Knights have relics, Death Knights have sigils, other classes have like their totems, their sigils, their relics, their icons, whatever. Warriors are the only ones that actually have a ranged weapon, and this has defense rating on it. So the value, I think, will be arguable, but it's the best in slot. I can see people paying some good money for this. Ridiculous reagents needed. 15 Eternal Water, 15 Eternal Air. This is pretty tough to make. You need a Frozen Orb too. But yeah, this is best in slot for protection warriors. All right, moving on from engineering. That's the only item. We're gonna move on to inscription. This is a BOE offhand awesome weapon, offhand weapon. Faces of Doom. This is actually also going to require Frozen Orb, so you can bet this is going to be worth a good amount. Not like the craziest thing to make. Perhaps some of these inks will be hard to make because you'll need Wrath of the Lich King herbs to mill them down and craft it. But Faces of Doom, this is an offhand for spellcasters, of course, and they're going to get some good value out of that. BOE, of course, and this is actually learned from the trainer. Everything we've gone through so far has been learned from the trainer. Keep that in mind, that learning a pattern away from the trainer will make it more valuable. I'll let you know when we get to those. Okay, next up is Darkmoon card greatness. And a couple of these cards come with different stats, so I just wanted to show you, like, this one has strength, this one has agility, this one has spirit, this one has intellect. A lot of classes, this is their best in slot. Trinket is Darkmoon card greatness. A lot of DPS classes, like, you know, Death Knight want the plus 90 strength, right? And in order to get Darkmoon card greatness, you need to get the Nobles deck, and the Nobles deck is actually created through Inscription. And so they're going to be cranking out those cards. You could sell the cards, like two of Nobles, Ace of Nobles, whatever. Those are all going to go for a good amount because this is the best in slot trinket for quite a few classes. So keep that in mind. The Nobles deck will be in high demand. Next up is Darkmoon card Illusion, another Inscription. Again, you learn this from the trainer. Inscription item, Darkmoon card Illusion. This is, I believe, like best in slot for discipline only, but it is best in slot. This is basically made from the Prisms deck, so another Inscription thing you can make a bunch of money on. Create those Prisms cards. All right, moving on to Jewelcrafting, leaving Inscription. Now, I'm going to say it up front. Jewelcrafting, every single pattern we're going to go through with Jewelcrafting is BOP. And typically, what you need to do in order to get the recipe is you have to exchange it for $6 on Jewelcrafters tokens. Now, I made a bunch of profession videos. If you haven't seen them, a $1 on Jewelcrafters token can be acquired by 1, doing daily quests, or 2, turning in Titan Steel or dust. So like if you prospect the Titan Steel, you can turn in, like, I think a stack of 10 dust for $1 on Jewelcrafters token. So it's either you got a bunch of money and you can buy your way towards it, or you do enough dailies and you can get those $1 on Jewelcrafters tokens, exchange 6 of them for the pattern. And all of these are patterns that you can purchase. So Ring of the Northern Tears. This one is best in slot, of course. Not the craziest thing to make. North Sea Pearls, you can find these in Dark Water Clams. Eternal Water, you know, this one's actually pretty frequently found. You can fish this up. You can find it when mining. It's not actually this hard to create, but the pattern will make it valuable. Moving on, we have Ring of Scarlet Shadows. Again, $6 on Jewelcrafters tokens to get this recipe. This is best in slot. Again, everything we're going through is #1 best in slot item for at least one class and spec. Not too hard to make. The hardest part's probably the 3 Eternal Shadow. Scarlet Ruby, I do actually imagine being quite expensive. So Ring of Scarlet Shadows might actually go for quite a bit. Titanium Earthguard Ring. This one, you better bet, is going to be pretty expensive because of that Frozen Orb. It's also got 4 Eternals, Eternal Life, Eternal Earth, also Dragon's Eye. Dragon's Eye can be exchanged for $1 on Jewelcrafters token, or you can there's a chance to find it with an Icy Prism if you're a jewel crafter, which you are a jewel crafter if you're crafting this right. So this one's best in slot for tanks in general. Very, very good one. I imagine this one will go for quite a bit. The Titanium Earthguard Ring. Very, very good ring. Titanium Impact Band, switching over to a DPS best in slot ring. This one very similar. The Dragon's Eye requirement, the Frozen Orb requirement, and 8 Eternals total plus the 2 titanium bars. All right. We also have the Titanium Spell Shock Ring. You could probably see a trend here. Very similar, 4 Dragon's Eye, Frozen Orb, and then 8 Eternals. Different Eternals, basically, depending on which type of ring. This is a spell power ring, right? All right, the Titanium Earthguard Chain. This one is defense rating. It's for tanks, best in slot for tanks. This one's quite a bit of Eternals. Actually, 12 Eternals total. 6 Eternal Earth, 6 Eternal Life. Got to get that Frozen Orb and 4 Dragon's Eye. So this one I can imagine, again, like maybe upwards to 1,000 gold or more potentially for this. Titanium Impact Choker. Very, very expensive again, probably, with the 12 Eternals, Frozen Orb, and Dragon's Eye. Again, $6 on Jewelcrafters tokens to learn the recipe. So be strategic with your tokens on which one you want to buy, what recipe. Titanium Spell Shock Necklace, same exact thing, 12 Eternals, different Eternals, Frozen Orb, Dragon's Eye. I'm actually going to post a list of this in the description below if you want to take a look at this. I'll lay this all out for you if this is getting too much. But that's the end of jewel crafting. We're going to move over to leatherworking. And now this one is actually a BOP pattern as well. And if you, once again, the profession video, you can trade Arctic furs for patterns, okay? So this one's BOP pattern. Got to turn in some Arctic furs to learn it. Giant Man Bracers, best in slot. As you can imagine, Frozen Orb, 10 Eternals, and 10 heavy Berean leather. Not too hard, but the Eternals make it pretty tough. It is best in slot once again. And then finally, Ice Strikers Cloak. Now, this one is actually learned from the trainer, leatherworking, but it does require 2 Arctic fur, which Arctic fur, by the way, is pretty tough to get. It's got like a chance on skinning to appear, so it's kind of like a Black Lotus in that sense. Back in like Season of Mastery, you know, there's a chance that you get it when you skin anything. Very rare chance though. And then also 10 Eternals, 6 Fire and 4 Shadow, and a Frozen Orb. And you're gonna bet this is in high demand because it's a cloak, so pretty much like tons of different DPS classes are after this guy's Ice Strikers Cloak. Now this next one I want to really stress, I think this one's gonna be worth quite a bit, because in order to even learn the recipe, and this is tailoring by the way, moving away from leatherworking, we're gonna talk about tailoring now. This Wisp Cloak is actually a BOP pattern that you get after doing the achievement Northrend Dungeons. You have to do every single 5-man dungeon in Northrend, and then you can learn how to create the Wisp Cloak. And this is best in slot for a ton of different spellcaster classes. Also, like 5 Bolts of Imbued Frostweave, 6 Eternal Life, 4 Eternal Water, a Siren's Tear. You can get this very low chance from a Dark Water Clam, and Frozen Orb. So this is going to be very pricey. Probably out of everything we've gone through, Wisp Cloak might be the most valuable. Now, the only one I could see being more valuable than Wisp Cloak is this next one, which is Deathchill Cloak. Also a tailoring cloak that is unlocked through the Lore Master of Northrend achievement. In order to unlock Lore Master, you must do a certain number of quests within each zone in Northrend. So you got to do that prerequisite if you plan on, you know, spamming dungeons. As if you're a tailor, maybe you should go and do the quests. Actually, this is going to be very valuable. It's going to take, you know, very similar requirements: Frozen Orb, Siren's Tear, 10 Eternals, and 5 Bolts of Imbued Frostweave. But it is BIS for so many different classes. So very, very good cloak to go out of your way for. Now, there's also 2 more recipes for tailoring, and then we're reaching the end of the BIS list here. We've got Spellweave Gloves. Spellweave is very similar to like you know, the 3 cloths, the specialty cloths. It's on a 4-day cooldown to craft it. This is best in slot for Spellweave. You can bet that this is once again going to go for hundreds, if not thousands of gold. You also need that Frozen Orb. So yeah, it's going to be pretty good opportunity to make some gold. And then finally we have the Spellweave robe. This robe it requires 8 Spellweave, so even more. And yeah, the other stuff, Frozen Orb, all that good stuff. It's going to sell for a bunch. Hopefully this has helped you make your decision on, you know, what items you want to go for to make some gold. An alternative to, you know, farming, like mining, grinding, whatever. Instead, you can go after, craft these, make use of your profession to make some sweet, sweet gold. If you like this video, you might like my 17 top methods for making gold in Northrend video right above my head. Check it out. I think you'll enjoy it, and I'll see you there.